What I love about Japanese eggplant is that you don't need to purge them before cooking. You can just cut them and throw them in a stir fry. Today I'll show you how to make Mapo Nasu, which is like Mapo Tofu except with eggplant instead of the tofu. I'll show you to make it. Let's get started.
Let's get started by cutting the eggplant. The prep is really easy. We don't need to peel or purge them. We will just cut off the ends and cut them in a rangiri, which is a rolling cut. Literally, it means a random cut. Cut at an angle, rotate, and cut again. This type of cut is very typical in Japanese home cooking. It leaves random shaped but similar sized pieces. Keep doing this until you run out of eggplant. Here we have our eggplant cut. We'll dust them with some katakuriko starch. This will help them keep their shape and get some nice color on the outside. Evenly mix in the starch until it seems to have disappeared. White clumps of starch will form a gloopy mess later. With the eggplant coated, let's prepare the supporting vegetables, which are really up to you and your tastes. I'm going with some green peppers, which I'll cut off the tops, cut in half, remove the pith and seeds. I'll also do a rangiri with these, but instead of rolling them, I'll cut at an angle, rotate, cut again, and repeat until I have run out of pepper. This also leaves some similar size but randomly shaped pieces. Next, some baby corn, which I'll just cut in half on the bias. This is fresh baby corn. You can use the canned baby corn if you can't get fresh, or omit it altogether. These are bamboo shoots which have a nice satisfying crunchy texture. They're already cut, so we just need to drain them and set them aside. We'll use a half an onion. We'll just cut off the ends, cut in half, then into wedges, then half again. So we have some nice chunks like this. I'm using a half bunch of shimeji mushrooms, which I'll cut off the root end and break apart. Other mushrooms such as shiitake or trumpet mushrooms would also work. Set those with the other vegetables. Here we have our tray of vegetables, which will all be going in at the same time. Next, the aromatics of garlic and ginger. For the garlic, we'll cut off the ends, give them a smash, give them some tiny horizontal and vertical cuts, and dice finely. Gather it up and set aside. The ginger we will do the same too. First, I will give it a rough peel, cut it horizontally, vertically, and dice. Run your knife through a few more times to make sure it's cut finely. Scoop that up and set it with the garlic. They will both be going in at the same time. Finally, to complete the Mirepoix of Chinese cuisine, some green onions. Cut the white part finely and set it with the garlic and ginger. The green part we will cut into rounds and set aside for the garnish. That's all the prep we need to do. Our eggplant is cut and dusted in starch, our supporting vegetables are cut, the aromatics are diced, we have everything ready to go. One other item is the meat. I'll be using some ground chicken, but use whatever ground meat or vegetarian option you have or prefer. With everything ready, let's get out a large frying pan, heat it with a little vegetable oil. Once hot, let's first saute the eggplant. This is to make sure we get a nice color on the outside. We will cook it about halfway there and then finish it in the sauce later. This is very similar to how we would blanch tofu first when we make Mapo Tofu to help it keep its texture later. Make sure they aren't touching too much. With the starch, they tend to stick together. You could do this in multiple smaller batches, or just make sure to stir and break apart as necessary. The color is looking pretty good here. I'll season it with some salt and pepper. We don't want to cook it too much more at this stage, or we'll lose that pretty purple color. Let's remove and set aside. In the same frying pan, add more oil. First, let's brown the meat, break it up into small pieces, and cook until it changes color. Once cooked through, push to one side, add more oil if necessary, and saute the aromatics. Let that cook until fragrant. Stir it in with the meat. Push everything to the side once again. Add in doubanjiang red chili paste. And tenmenjiang black bean paste. One brings heat, the other sweet. If you have them, add in Sichuan peppercorns, which give the dish a unique numbing sensation. Mix the seasonings together and cook directly on the surface of the frying pan to develop flavor. Stir it in with the meat so everything is coated and ready. Toss in the whole tray of supporting vegetables and bamboo shoots. Let's build the simmering liquid of sake, soy sauce, teaspoon of granulated chicken stock, and about 200 milliliters of water. Add another little splash of water if necessary. We want to just barely cover everything to simmer, kinda like this. Cover that up and cook for 5 to 6 minutes or until the vegetables soften. Open it up about halfway through to check on it and stir. While that simmers, Don't forget to leave a like, and let's get our slurry together. It's about 1.5 tablespoons of katakuriko starch with 1 tablespoon or so of water. Give that a mix until it's an opaque white. Open up the mapo, and while stirring, pour in the slurry little by little. Keep doing this until it thickens to a nice velvety consistency. If it thickens too much, add a splash of water, or if it's too thin, add more slurry. But if it leans a little too thin at this point, that's okay because the eggplant does have starch on it. So let's add in the eggplant, and let those come back up to temperature and finish cooking the sauce. This looks great right here. Serve in a large dish. This is typically eaten family style, so this is definitely more than one portion. I'd probably put a little more in this dish than necessary. One quick plating tip. Always wipe the sides of your dish. It's a very small thing that goes a long way to show some attention to detail. Let's garnish with the green onions and cilantro if you have it. It goes really well with cilantro. Although I did reverse course just because I didn't want to cover up the eggplant for the thumbnail picture. And there we have Mapo Nasu, best eaten with a little bowl of rice.
The eggplant is nicely cooked through, has lots of flavor. The sauce itself is so good. You can grab some with rice. So there we have it, Mapo Nasu. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Maybe check out this video next. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.